Thank you for joining today's webinar. Today, we are presenting webinar on 7 ways to ensure your career security, organized by Applied Science and Humanities Department of Parul Polytechnic Institute, Parul University. The main agenda of this webinar is to prepare and to make aware students about the network and how to be adaptable, consistent, so that they can create a support group for their career. I, Vaishali Nathwani, would like to introduce today's guest speaker, Elena Daniel. She is the co-founder of Dream Job CV and a founder of Shiny Profiles, a personal branding and content marketing agency. She is also a certified resume writer with background in digital marketing and copywriting. With more than 5 years of experience in career coaching and LinkedIn profile optimization, she guides job seekers and service providers on how to achieve their professional goals through appropriate self marketing in the digital space. It's a pleasure to welcome you, ma'am, and you can start with the session.
Yes, thank you so much, Vaishali. That's a huge pleasure to speak for the students of Parul University today. And yeah, I appreciate everybody who invited me, who organized this session. And yeah, that's right. I have pretty broad experience in resume writing and in career development and in how to use LinkedIn to ensure that your career path goes nicely and smoothly. And yes, with pleasure, I am happy to start my presentation. And we all know that in this digital space, like, right, and in this world in general, anything can happen. So it's very important to make certain steps that will make us feel secure in our career, in what we do, and use specific tactics that some of the things we should do once in a while, others we do every day, and that will help us to make sure that our career will be secure and we will be able to achieve our professional goals and make sure that we do everything we need to make it happen. Yeah, and Hemal, I ask you please move the presentation to the next slide. Yeah, thank you. So tactics number one is being aware. And what that means? By that, I mean that it is very important to start with raising self awareness and also be aware of what's going on in the job market at the moment. And knowing yourself starts with I would advise doing maybe a little self inventory to write down, just maybe figure out for yourself, maybe write down your skills, your strengths, your top qualities, and while you are studying and in your student years, you can already figure out your superpower zones, what you're good at, what you're great at, and that's very important to keep that in mind for your future jobs and for your future career, because some people are good with numbers, other people good with people, and that's very important to figure out that before you embark on your career journey. So when you go through job search process and when you apply and attend job interviews, you will be able to answer the questions about yourself with confidence and be able to present yourself appropriately. And next one is, it's very important to know the tendencies and trends of the current job market. And ideally, that one should have done even before you selected your career path and selected your education, because when you choose your education, well, I know sometimes it's you who choose it, sometimes your parents choose it for you, right, because they pay for your education. Yeah, but in any case, it's important to do the research and find out which industries are um, mostly growing and which skills are in demand right now, right? Which technologies are mostly used by the employees in the current job market. All these things are very important to research and make sure that the path you meet as for the path you have chosen with relation to your education and your future jobs, it matches with the demands of the current job market. And also, that's important to learn how to meet these demands and just be flexible and knowing different sides of your career, so you can easily adapt to what is demanded by employers. Okay, Hemal, next slide, please. Yeah, thank you. And tactics number two is to be prepared. And before you start looking for a job, it's very important to do a preparation that will ensure your full readiness and preparedness to do the job that you're going to do. And you can, if you already have a CV, you should update it, and if you don't, you should create a CV. And I know that lots of universities provide resources and assistance for creating CVs and resumes. And when you create one, you should also do the research and find out what is demanded on the jobs that you are going to apply for, and make your CV match with those demands. And speaking about what should be included in your CV, besides your contact and your name and contact information, it is very important to include, first of all, the profile section where you explain who you are, what you have learned, what you are capable of doing, and what kind of impact you are ready and able to make when you get employed. And number two, you include your skills. And by skills, I know that many people are a bit confused when it comes to skills, because they mainly think it's things like your knowledge of Microsoft Office, or skills are about working with clients, for example. But your skills go far beyond that, because skills cover there are usually three groups of skills. It's hard skills that cover what you have learned during your university years. It can be mechanical engineering, it can be your knowledge of IT systems and networks. So that's your hard skills, that the knowledge and expertise that you have, and that's what you're ready to bring to your employer. Next one is your soft skills. And your soft skills are also sometimes called people skills. It's your ability to work with people. And as a student, I know that you have plenty of chances to for human interaction, and it gives you opportunities to develop your leadership skills, to develop your teamwork skills, because lots of projects, sometimes you are asked to lead a project, sometimes you are asked to work together with your classmates, for example, and you can definitely include those skills on in your CV, your ability to work with people. And the last group of skills is technical skills. It's just, well, that's your knowledge of technologies. It can be Microsoft Office, it can be AutoCAD, it can be anything else that you have learned during your university years. One of the recommendations I give to people who pursue their career is when you research job market trends and industry trends, you can see what technologies are demanded from the employees, right? And in addition to what you learn as a student, you can also get a few certifications if you see that knowledge of this, of that technology is demanded by employers, but yeah, somehow your university program didn't include it, you can always get a certificate and also put it on your CV so the future employer can see that you went beyond what you've learned during your university years and that you went this extra mile to upskill yourself, right? And those three groups of skills, yeah, once again, I'm repeating, it's hard skills, soft skills, and technology skills, and all of them are equally important, and all of them should be on your CV or your resume. And then the next important section for your resume is your education, because you will be a fresh graduate when you're applying, or you can apply for internships and start looking for something even before you graduate. You highlight the like what you put in the spotlight is your education, and there you include the most prominent programs you have taken, the most important courses you have taken, and classes that are relevant to your future career. Don't include the whole curriculum, include what's relevant. Yeah, and then after you speak, yeah, you include your titles for your research papers or other research activities, maybe projects, capstone projects you have completed, everything that is relevant you include in your education section. And then after the education, you can include certificates if you had a chance to receive any. And then you include experience, because I know that lots of students work during their university years, and even though your experience might not be relevant to your future career, but still, if you, for example, work as a sales agent or maybe customer service representative or even waiter or administrative assistant, all this can show your skills of working with people, of getting along in the teams. So even though your experience seems irrelevant, you still include some part of it in your CV. And then when you're done with that, you can also put at the end of your CV your any extracurricular activities that you were engaged in school that are also relevant to your future career. It may be leading a club or a group, and all these parts are absolutely necessary for creating a good and impactful CV. Yeah, and then also another thing that is very important to remember when you start applying is you especially when you apply to large companies and when you apply online, lots of employers use software that is called ATS, applicant tracking system, and they will be scanning your CV through this ATS. It will be screened before it's selected. So it's also important to make sure that your CV or resume complies with the standards. That's why I recommend to use simple design, not too many graphics or extras, and just make it clear and to the point. So three things to remember about your CV: it has to be relevant, it has to be clear, and it has to be compliant with the requirements of your potential employer. Yeah, and the next thing you should do to prepare, you optimize your LinkedIn profile, where you should also fill in all the sections that the interface suggests to make sure your profile is all star, which means that you should include your photo, your ad of your skills, and also make statements about who you are, what you do, and what you are capable of, what kind of benefit your potential employers can get by hiring you. And when you work on your LinkedIn profile, it's very important to include as much information as possible about yourself. And I will explain in a bit why. So for now, just please remember that your LinkedIn profile is a tool that will get you a job, because that will create visibility of you, and being visible is extremely important in the modern world. So for now, having a well-optimized LinkedIn profile is a must for everybody. Even if you're a student, you have started your career, but you have started it. You're already starting it. You're already starting building your digital presence. So my advice to you: the earlier you start, the better it will be for you. And another thing that will include your preparation, it is cover letter. And you can create just a short letter or even a note that sometimes shouldn't exceed like 150 words, where you mainly, when you apply and send your CV, you often send it as a cover letter where you have a chance to give your future employer an idea why exactly you want to work for their company and why they should select you. And that also applies to looking for internships, looking for jobs that will help you gain some initial experience for entry-level jobs. Yeah, so three things before you start applying for a job. Three things you should do. Create or update a CV and make it ATS compliant. Create and optimize your LinkedIn profile, and create a cover letter. Yes, and Hemal, can you please move to the next slide? Yeah, thank you. So now, after you created your LinkedIn profile, you created it, you updated it, you added everything that's needed to be included. Step number 3 is being visible and staying visible. And we know that in this world, especially during and after the pandemic times, right, lots of businesses went online, lots of employers went online, many companies adopted a hybrid model where they apply or hire both in-office workers and remote workers. So for you, it's very important to stay as visible as possible and maintain your active social media presence. And when we speak about social media, it's very important to keep in mind that, for example, when you apply and your future employer is considering to inviting you for a job interview, they might check you on social media, just do the research, the same as you research companies, right, where you would like to work. The same, your employer will do the research about you, and they will check you, definitely check your social media. And by social media, I mean not only LinkedIn profile, which is a professional platform, and they will first of all check this one, but they might also go and check your other social media. So it's very important to make sure that your social media profiles don't contain any content that might potentially compromise you. And that means no inappropriate photos, no rude or offensive comments. Nothing like this should be on your social media, especially when you're looking for a job. Yeah, and then another thing, how you can stay visible. Yeah, for that you can primarily use LinkedIn as well as either media. For example, you can use Facebook by joining certain professional group which are relevant to your industry, or the same to do on LinkedIn. You just check the feed and engage with people's content. You support their content, what they post, their posts, their articles, their updates. You leave comments there, and when you why it's helpful, it's helpful because when you leave comments, and preferably it shouldn't be something simple and trivial like great job or I love your post, which is also nice to say, but then you continue with sharing your opinion, or offering your knowledge or expertise in certain subject or in certain area, and that will help show your what you already know about that, and it will eventually bring attention to who you are, what you do, and people will also engage with you. They will start contacting you, they will review your profile, and will just you just keep things happening, right, by being active on professionally active on social media, on professional outlets. You will keep things moving and just get yourself noticeable. You This is a great chance to be noticed by the right people. And if you feel you are ready, you can also share your own content. You create posts that discuss um, any professional topics you are aware of, and that you when you have knowledge that you feel like sharing, you can always post on social media, especially on LinkedIn, where also people will be able to notice you. And creating content is a great way to establish your reputation as an expert in your area or your niche. And why it's important, I can tell you a story. Recently, I was contacted by a man from India. Actually, he was asking. He said he was hiring virtual assistants, and he was asking if I knew anybody who works in this area. And I the name of this girl, it just popped up in my head because for a few months I've seen her content. She just kept posting, and she was talking about the things that she's a personal assistant and virtual assistant, and that she provides this kind of services. So when I was asked about virtual assistants and if I knew anybody, her name was number one coming into my mind. And that's why you can do the same. You can, while being a student, you can already start building your network and establishing your social media presence, especially on LinkedIn. So when the time comes for you to be hired, people will already know who you are, what you're capable of, and they will come to you, or you will go to them and ask them for assistance, and they'll be happy to help because they know you, they know who you are, and they just felt your presence for a while, so they will be more open to communication and more open to supporting you. Yes, Hamal, next slide, please. Yeah, thank you. And now we came to networking because when you engage with people's content, when you post your own content, besides that, you can also connect and build relationships. So you build your network of connections, you talk to people, you support their content, you support them in their activities. And I know for a fact that when you support others, they will also be happy to support you and build relationships with you. And when you are open to communication and supportive, it will be easier for you then to establish your presence in the professional network. And yeah, with relation to that, I can tell you another story. When one of my connections asked me if I knew someone who could host a networking event for him, and again, I knew a person like this because he, this man, his name is Tom. Tom and I, we have built in professional relationships for a while. We supported each other's content. We helped each other to grow on LinkedIn, and I knew very well who he was, what he was capable of, and when I was asked to recommend somebody, I was just happy to recommend him because I could guarantee that he was an expert in his field. And this is very, very important that you at first make this connection, right, and build professional relationship. Why it's important? Because when a stranger messages me and asks for a job, it's harder for me to help because I don't know this person. And for example, as much as I want to help, I'd love to find out more first about who this person is, what she or he does. And that's why, please, before you ask for referrals, ask for a job, just take your time, spend a bit of your time to first of all go to this person's profile. If we are talking about LinkedIn, for example, I highly recommend to, before making any contact, before making any connection, you at first open this person's profile and spend just a couple of minutes just looking at their profile, who they are, what they do, and that will give you an idea about how they will be better to help you. And when you see that they can help you, then you can send them an invite to connect and give them a brief idea of why you're connecting, maybe refer to something you've seen on their profile, what has impressed you the most. And then this person will be more open to a dialogue because they will see that you have done some research, you have looked at their profile, and they will be happy to get to know you in return. Yeah, so like I said, a great part of networking is asking for referrals and recommendations. And just please remember that networking is it's essential in your job search, right? It's just fundamental. And now when you're a student, start building your connections now. Start building your network now, because then when you graduate, it will be much easier for you to move on with everything. Why it is? Because reason number one, just so you know, statistically, about 60 or 70% of jobs, they are never publicly advertised. So when you go to say the same LinkedIn or other job search platforms, right, like Indeed and many others, you can definitely feel that those jobs are for public public view only, but there are so many jobs and many vacancies that are filled in internally. So when you apply, you also, besides applying online, you should also apply through people. You contact people directly, you build relationships with recruiters, you build relationships with employees of some companies you would like to work for, maybe, and that will give you a solid foundation for the moment when you start looking for jobs. And also when you yeah, excuse me. Yeah, and also another thing to know and to remember, we recently conducted research, and we asked people what was the most effective job search strategy for them. And about 60 or 70% of people, they said that the best way, the easiest way, and the fastest way to get a job was through networking and referrals. So please keep that in mind, that it's great to apply online, but prepare your CV, prepare your LinkedIn profile, and also build your network, because like smart people say, your network is your net worth. And that's why it's great to leverage it when the time comes for you to get employed. And of course, you should get your elevator pitch ready, which is a short introductory monologue that you it's basically a few sentences that give a clear picture of who you are and what you are capable of. And this should be your number one answer when people ask you, tell me about yourself, right? Because many times you will be asked this question. You will be asked it in networking events. You'll be asked, tell me about yourself at job interviews. So the answer has to be top notch, and it has to be prepared in advance and rehearsed by you many times. So when you are asked, tell me about yourself, right, you will be able to answer clearly and easily, and the person will be you are speaking with will be impressed by that. Yeah, so that's something about networking. Yeah, next slide, please, Hemal. Yeah, thank you. Another tactics is to be consistent in your efforts. So when you have created your profile, you have created your CV, you have um, build your network of connections, right? And now it's very important for you to be consistent in this effort. So it's not something you do just once in your life and then relax and say, okay, I've done it, no need to do it anymore. When we speak about engaging with people, building your network, staying visible on social media, it has to be done consistently. Maybe not every day if you don't have an opportunity to do it every day, but at least a few times a week, 20, 30 minutes, a few times a week. I highly recommend you, I urge you to spend this time on engaging, uh, staying visible, networking, and just connecting and speaking to people to make sure they know you and you know them. Yeah, then when you are ensuring consistency of your activities when it comes to your job search, you should definitely focus on your goals when you connect with people, right? So you don't connect just for a chat, you don't connect for to waste their time. You have to always be focused and clear and to the point, and explain why you're connecting, what you're looking for, and how, most important, how they, what's for them in it. So when they hire you or when they connect with you, what's for them in it. Yes, and also another very important note, when you are using your social media, you should stay positive. Yeah, I highly recommend you always stay positive, because it's your public profile, it's your public communication, and it's, just to give you an example, it's very sad to see when people who are actively looking for jobs, they at the same time leave, negative comments where they make negative remarks about recruiters or how everything is wrong in the job market. So I highly recommend you to avoid this mistake, because once again, when your potential employer researches and looks at your social media profiles, they might see all these comments of yours that you've been negative towards employers, you've been negative towards recruiters, and as you understand, nobody wants to hire a complainer, nobody wants to hire a negative person. So that's why you just don't complain, right? Yeah, okay, next slide, please. Yeah, and like I said in my first slide, and a bit more about it here, it's very important to be adaptable in this world, because everything changes so quickly, and job market changes, technologies change, and just life changes, economies change, right? So it happens locally, it happens globally. So adaptability is a crucial skill you have to develop in yourself. And that means that when something changes, especially in your professional life or any career related things, you just accept it and move on with it, just go along with it. And I know that things often happen that we don't like. Sometimes we have to move places, sometimes we have to change careers, sometimes we just have to stay at home and work from home. uh, yeah, but it's important. Being adaptable is important. That's what will help you progress in your career. Adaptability is, that's just a must to have. And just a couple of tips on how exactly we can be adaptable. We follow the latest industry trends, right? When we do the research and find out the trends, we don't just get this knowledge, right? We apply this knowledge. So we follow these trends. And when we see, like I said before, when we see there is a need to upskill, to get some extra certifications, to go through some trainings to develop maybe your leadership skills or your knowledge of particular software. um, you just, that's very important to just stay in tune of what's going on in the job market, what companies expect from employees, right? What their requirements are, and comply with these requirements. And in line with that, you should always stay open to innovation and change. And I know it's hard because sometimes we can be very conservative and we don't feel like learning something new. We don't feel like changing, or we don't like things around us changing, but that's really important to stay open, to accept, and to go along with this change. Yeah, next slide, please, my friend. Yeah, thank you. And the last but not the least, when you do the research, right, and raise your awareness about the yourself and the job market, when you do the preparation stage, which is creating your CV, LinkedIn profile, and cover letter, when you network with people, when you stay consistent, when you engage, when you are learn how to be adaptable. In the process of all this, it's very important to remember that you don't have to do all this alone. You are not alone in this journey, and you don't have to do everything on your own, because I I just, from my experience, I've seen so many people, they who just, struggle in silence, and something doesn't work, they apply and receive no response, or they communicate with companies and it doesn't work, and they just, it gets them upset, it gets them depressed. So please, please don't repeat this mistake. When you're looking for a job, it can be stressful, it can be perplexing, things won't work right from the start, and you definitely need, in this journey, you definitely need support. So I advise you to surround yourself with people who value and appreciate you. Surround yourself with people you trust, and people who will just give you guidance, give you support, give you advice, because we often have people in our surroundings who don't believe in us, or they think what we are doing is wrong, and just avoid communicating with this kind of people if possible, and be sure you are mainly surrounded with positive, proactive, and trustworthy people. And why you need this, I call it support group, right? Because those are the people you can always ask for help. And believe me, asking for help, it's a strength, it's not a weakness. And when you ask for help, it doesn't mean you're weak, and it doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. You should ask for help. When you struggle, you should ask for help. So, for example, when you see that your resume is not doesn't receive any response from employers, just ask your friend, ask maybe your parents' friend, right, to take a look at your resume and give you feedback, and just change it accordingly, right? Or if you are using other tactics to get a job and they don't work, just ask for people help. And I know that lots of people around you that will be happy to help you and to make your life and your journey easier. And that's why one of the crucial components of our success is human connection, human interaction. And just please, please ask people for help and support. I know that there are plenty around you who will be happy to help you and assist you. Yeah, next slide, please. Okay, thank you. So to wrap it up, it is absolutely possible to feel secure and confident in your career, because believe it or not, it's through the small things that we do regularly, or small things we do every day, we can achieve great goals. And to repeat it one more time for the conclusion, just know yourself, know the job market, um, prepare yourself before you start looking for a job, engage with people, network with people, be consistent, be adaptable, and ask for help. And I know for a fact that when you do these things, your career journey will be more secure, and you will have this confidence that you you are needed, that you will be hired for who you are and what you are capable of doing. Know your strengths, be proud of your achievements, and know your value. Know your value and learn how to communicate it. So when you know how to communicate your value, you'll be more appreciated in work and in life. Yeah, and feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Feel free to connect with me on Instagram, on Twitter. And if you have questions, if you need help, you're welcome to ask. Just yeah, message me. I am open. How to say it? I have this feature activated that allows accept messages from anybody. So yeah, please, you're welcome to reach out. That was a huge pleasure to present in front of you. And yeah, now feel free to ask questions within the next 10, 15 minutes. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am, for this beautiful session.
Yeah, you're most welcome.
Yeah. And there are some questions which we have gathered here. How can we optimize our LinkedIn profile?
Well, how to optimize? First of all, you have to be sure that all parts and all sections are filled in. So there will be no gaps nor empty spaces, because unfortunately I often see profiles, especially people contact me, for example, and they say like, Galina, I need a job, please help me. Yeah, but when I go to their profile, it has yeah, and I'm not talking about students, I'm talking about maybe mid-career level professionals, sometimes even executive professionals, and their profile has like very little information about who they are, what they do, what, and especially what kind of jobs they're looking for. And I've seen profiles where the headline says, for example, I need a job, but it doesn't say what kind of job this person is looking for, which is also makes it harder to help. So when you optimize your LinkedIn profile, provide as much information about yourself as possible. And also, I would advise you to select a few, yeah, maybe use LinkedIn search, maybe use other job search platforms. Uh, just take your time, spend some time to have a look at, just find the job openings and look through the job descriptions similar to the roles you're applying for, you're looking for, and just look at what employers require, what qualifications they require, what skills they require, and just be sure you include them in your profile, right? So when you apply or when they come to visit your profile, they will find on your profile what they're looking for, pretty much. So you just make it match just one with the other, make yourself match with what they're looking for.
It should be short and sweet and up to the mark.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. When you talked about updating a CV, right? So, during what time period it is appropriate to update our CV?
Say it again, please.
At
Appropriate to
what
what?
time period? At what time period we should update our CV regularly?
When to update, right?
Yeah.
you definitely update it before you're looking, before you're applying. And what I recommend is even every time before you're applying, when you, for example, you have this job specification in front of you, you quickly look through it, you see what's expected from you. For example, there is a CV for web designer, right? And when you apply for a job of a web developer, you can change your heading into web developer, for example, right? To make sure your CV matches with what they're looking for. So once again, it's like responding to their demand, basically. Yeah, or for example, if you are both marketing manager and brand manager, when you apply for marketing management roles, you kind of tweak your CV to make it more relevant to marketing management. When you apply for brand management, you tweak your CV accordingly. So it's just, more matching with what they want. And yeah, that's what you do.
Yes. And you talked about cover letter and cover note, right? Can you elaborate
Hmm.
that thing, ma'am? Uh, what is cover letter and cover
Yes.
note? Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I can explain. Cover letter is a letter that you are sometimes expected to attach with your CV. And it's in your CV, you can tweak it a little bit, but still you have like it's specifically presented, specific set of skills, education, experience. It doesn't really change, right? But the thing is, your CV often doesn't give you space to explain maybe why you want to change your career, or why you were unemployed for a few months or maybe years, right? Especially for ladies who were looking after children, for example. Or your CV doesn't give you space to explain why you want to work for this company, because you can use the same CV to apply to multiple companies, right? So that's why you need a cover letter or a cover note. And it doesn't have to be long, because I know that some people, for them, it's like writing a book. They write like 2 pages, 3 pages. And just keep in mind that people this day are very busy, and especially recruiters, especially hiring managers, and they often simply don't have time to read long letters, right? So you have to be as clear and as relevant as possible. And that's why I sometimes recommend to replace a cover letter with a cover note. It can be like an mm, for example, when you send your CV, you send it with an email, with a short email, which explains why you're contacting this person, or why you're contacting this company, why you're interested, why should they choose you, right? Because even from my experience, I'm not a recruiter, right? But I receive people sometimes just send me a CV and say, I need a job, right? And it's okay when you receive it once in a while, but for recruiters who receive, I don't know, dozens of CVs, sometimes hundreds of CVs a day, right? It definitely needs a note. It definitely needs an like indication who you are, why you are writing to them. Yeah, that's why you need this cover letter or cover note to give this like extra explanation. You don't have to rehearse everything what's on your CV, because they can open your CV and read everything. Just a few highlights and your why, maybe why you have chosen this job, why you have chosen this industry, and why them and why you, pretty much.
Ma'am. And you also talked about referrals and recommendations, right? So how can we
Mhm.
ask for that thing on social media?
Well, for that, yes, that's a very good question. For that, that's why I spend a bit of time explaining why it's so important to build relationship first. Because, for example, when a complete stranger, messages me and says like, "Please recommend me," or make a referral, like refer me to somebody, I can't do it because I don't know this person, I don't know who they are, I don't know what they're capable of. They can be a fraud, I don't know, which is not rare these days. So yes, that's very important to get in touch with this person and build the relationship first. And speaking about recommendations, it is very, very important to have a few recommendations on your LinkedIn profile. And for example, by the time you graduate, you should already have maybe two, maybe three. You can ask your peers, you can ask your supervisors, your like leaders, or whoever you find credible and who can better articulate your potential, right? You Yeah, these two three recommendations are absolutely necessary to have on your profile. And then uh, people who know you, right, and who can vouch for you, you can ask them for referrals or recommendations. I urge you, never ask strangers because it won't serve you any good.
And the last question from our end, ma'am. According to
Mhm.
you, which social media is better?
Social media, what, pardon?
According to you, which social media is better for searching our job profiles and all that?
Yeah, yeah. And you expect me to explain why?
No, not explain, just give us the name that which this social media is more relevant, means appropriate for a job profile.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I first of all, I meant LinkedIn because, like I said, pretty much everything happening in the digital world right now, right? That's where people sell, that's where people hire, that's where people make deals, that's where people have meetings. Everything's virtual. So it's very important to make real life connections and also make digital connections. And like I said, establish your presence. Just stay present, stay visible, because that's how you might get noticed by the right people. You never know, someone will see your profile, someone will see your comments, someone will see your post, and they will say, oh, like, this girl is smart, I should like contact her and get to know her. She might be a good asset to our company or our business. So yeah, it's just, it's like, it's a long term journey, to be honest, because I wouldn't say that you can just do it 3 days, right, and start receiving job offers. You have to be around for at least a few
Yes.
months, right? So people, like I said, people know you, people get used to you. Yeah, and then just, yeah, magic starts happening. Just be consistent, be present, and be consistent.
Yes. So yes, ma'am, we have
Okay.
covered with, yes, we have covered with all our questions, ma'am, and thank you so much for giving us your valuable time. This session would help our students a lot for achieving their career job. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I hope so. I was happy to provide some value and give some direction. And
Yes,
thank
it
you so
would help.
much. That was
Yes.
an honor and a pleasure.
Yeah. I would
Thank you.
like to thank the head of our department, Mr. Hemal Patel, sir, the HR of our institute, Professor Jatin Vaidya, sir, academic director, Dr. Mahesh Bhatt, sir, and the president of our university, Dr. Devanshu Patel, sir, for motivating and supporting us continuously. Yes. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining with us. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.